Hey, everybody. Okay, this next interview you are going to love. It is Lauren Delisa Coleman for the Inside series here at Filmio, bringing you another scoop from the Indian Film Festival of Los Angeles. This is kind of like a dual part, but I'll save like the surprise insight for as we get into things. But right now I have the co-writer and producer and director of a film that's going to be showing within the festival called Shoebox. And I am so excited to present Faraz Ali and Nupur Sinha, who are going to join us now and talk about this and a little bit more. So thank you guys so much. You're up early in LA to do this, so I appreciate it. I guess we will kick it off as we usually do with the synopsis, please, of Shoebox. And I guess I will toss that to Faraz as the director.
So Shoebox essentially is film. It's about a loss. It's a personal loss that happens in a family, and how it's related to the social development that's happening in a city, and vice versa. So it's set in this big Kumbh festival that happens. It's one of the biggest festival that happens in Asia. And while this festival is happening, amidst all of this, the city is going through a massive transformation architecturally, as well as the nomenclature of the city is being changed. And while all of that change is happening, it influences the social structure or social fabric of the city, primarily one family, and how that family owns a single screen theater, and how that single screen theater is also part of the architecture of the city, and how that gets endangered.
It is a very, well, just like on many layers, right? It's a very robust film. I'm curious as to how this story came to you.
I think it's more like an observational piece, and I come from that city, Allahabad, where the film is set. So I migrated from the city to pursue education, and I moved, and it's been about 15 years that I've moved out from that city. But each visit to that city was a new visual, as well as emotional development that I saw happening. I mean, while I was feeling the distance while migrating and then staying away from, because how it happens in India. Indian families, that we still not very early on we leave the families. Like, a lot of us, we still live with the families, and we still go out to study and to work. But for me to move out from the city and to move to another city, and each annually, if once I would go back to the city, I would see, slowly that there is the slow movement in the kind of inevitable changes which is happening in the city. And Allahabad has a huge colonial impression in terms of the architecture, because of the past that India had and Allahabad had. So and all of that is something that we all cherished. All of that was something that we all grew up with, seeing the kind of Gothic architecture, seeing the kind of influence of, for that matter, I would say Islamic architecture, and basically a birth of new kind of like an amalgamation, a confluence of sorts of that kind of thing that happened in Allahabad. But each visit, as I would go, was a surprise to me, because then each visit was like, every time I would go and I would not see that one particular landmark or that building or that clock tower, and they were slowly being raised in the name of development, because the city had its own practical and social need, maybe a broader road or maybe a better infrastructure. But what is better remained a question in my head, that moving ahead in times along with raising the past, or let's retain the past and still move in time. So that as I was oscillating with this question and this dilemma, it really had an impression and impact on me. At the same time, Nupur, because Nupur also lives not too far away from the town, and we both, while we were writing, we started to discuss that it's actually not just the story of our town. It's actually very global in nature. It's not that this city is the only one which is getting endangered. A lot of cities, and at very individual level, we all are fighting with one big question, that while we construct the future, how much of the past is that we need to carry?
So, I mean, that was just like so wonderfully put. And this is a perfect segue over to Nupur, which I wanted to ask how the two of you kind of came together as this dynamic duo to bring Shoebox to life. So Nupur, you were, born, I guess, or lived at least near this city as well. So talk to me a little bit about the writing experience, because, this is something very close to your heart, right, that you've experienced. So what was that like for you? I'm curious.
So when Faraz introduced the story to me, it immediately struck a chord because, like he said, it's not just the story of this one small town. I immediately saw parallels with my experience with my small town, like just a few miles away, And I also as someone who's grown up in India and then immigrated to America and coming back home, that gap and that reframing of perspective around your hometown and around your childhood is so much larger, And for me, it was just for us, the most important thing was just how real we were, how much we were trying to keep it observational about what we saw in our writing, and just trying to really not put in any sort of melodramatic element for the sake of it, because there is obviously a lot going on in India in terms of just the kind of political changes that are happening, the kind of just the fast, unchecked development that politics demands, but which has no thought for what the culture used to be, what arts used to be, what the cities used to be, because they all had this character, and now they're all becoming a shopping mall, So for us, it was so important during the writing process, and it took us almost 1.5 to 2 years. And we were even writing it was very interesting because, like Faraz said, even while we were shooting in the city, we would go there and we would see another change, and that would inspire us to write something else because it was happening as we were shooting this. There were locations we saw that we would want to go back 2 months later and shoot, and they weren't there anymore. 200-year-old buildings, they were just gone.
I just kind of find this so fascinating, though, because when we think of India, and this is really on my top areas to visit. Our viewers know, the farthest I've made is to Dubai and Oman, this part of the world, the Emirates, right? But India, top of mind, doing yoga in Kerala, going to the, different temples later, being there during Diwali, all this, right? So you just think of it as monumental, how you couldn't knock down anything. So I'm, because it's so old and so rich, that I don't know, I just find it, I was kind of just shocked to hear that this was the topic of this film when I first, kind of looked at the materials, because, it's just something that you wouldn't think is happening there. But of course, why wouldn't it? Like you said, this is a global phenomenon for Oz. And so to be able to bring this story out, I think is really, really, so important. Talk to me a little bit about I guess the logistics really of pulling this together. You already said it was challenging because a lot of places you wanted to shoot were no longer there. What about some of the other elements?
So there were challenges while shooting at every step because of the kind of city that Allahabad is. It's an overpopulated city and spread over a wide landscape. It has confluence of 3 rivers. And it's also one of the biggest cities of the northern state in India. So our challenges started from the fact that we were planning or attempting to shoot the film midst the mega Kumbh festival, the spiritual festival that happens, that brings a massive footfall in the city, which also restricts us, right from taking the legal permissions to shoot in a certain location. To logistics stay, food, and everything. So everything became a crisis because suddenly the footfall in the city multiplied or amplified.
It was 500,000 that year. It was a record year. 500,000 people came into the city.
Yeah.
You guys don't do anything small, huh? Why not just pick one of the most challenging times to be able to manipulate and move around.
But that kind of adds, to because Faraz was, what I love about the way he's directed it is because he was so, adamant on shooting everything real with real actors. Sometimes we literally pick them off the street, or otherwise our main actors are a lot of there's theater background. They have some connection to the area. They speak the language, that kind of thing.
Oh,
and then it was
about in your film as well. Okay, because I interviewed her about her film. And then she's like, this is like insane. She can't wait to leave India because she has her film in the festival. And then she's in Shoebox as well. When I told her I was interviewing you guys, she was like, even more excited. So great.
That's very cool.
Yes. Her theater background just made me remember because you said.
So it was for us, the challenge was not just that it was actually adding to the reason why we wanted to shoot there, because having that, you can't recreate that. You can't recreate a crowd of 500,000 people. You can't recreate that festival. You can't recreate that atmosphere. And that was so symbolic of the change that we were trying to depict. So, we were ready to take on the challenges, and because it's worth it. You'll see it in the movie.
Right. For us, tell me a little bit about, as I was preparing for this, I saw that you went to film school in Munich. What do you think maybe from there that you learned helped to contribute to, kind of the realization of this film?
So Munich was more of a fellowship program. It was with Werner Herzog. And every year, annually, he calls for 50 applications, and these 50 filmmakers who have already started making films, and we can send out our show reels and essays and other materials to Herzog to review it. And then he finally, picks up these 50 filmmakers, and coming from different walks of life, different countries, different backgrounds, and we all live in Munich or whichever destination that Herzog decides. And we all live for those number of days together, and we talk about everything that goes behind making the films, and everything that, of course, what Herzog has made. So I was always fascinated about going to film school. Nupur also knows about it, but I could never go to a film school. I learned everything while I was on the job. I made my first short film when I was, this is 10 years ago, when I was 25. And that was the first time, that was my first encounter with films and understanding that the whole modus operandi and how everything works. And ever since then, I realized that, okay, fine, there's always this fascination about going to film school, and every person has different idea and different expectations behind it. In my case, I wanted to be in a dark room for endless 2-3 years and just be watching films. And I just wanted to be around people who talk about films, to be very honest. And And I kept craving that in my life. Even for me, the refuge of making film was to be around people who would love to talk about films. And in general, I love to talk about films. And that's when I just kept looking for such fellowship programs, and shorter programs where I could just go and have a small stint with other filmmakers and understand that how they look at films. And I was very, very lucky to be that was the last time when Herzog had the Rogue Film School. After that, he never conduct one. And that workshop or that fellowship program actually shaped up my life. It changed everything, because as independent filmmakers, we are always in problems. I mean, we call ourselves independent, but we are the most dependent filmmakers. We are dependent on everything. As a studio, you are independent filmmaker, but as an independent filmmaker, so we call ourselves, we are the most dependent filmmakers. We are dependent on our friend who's going to be the gaffer. We are going to be dependent on mother who's going to chip in 2 pence for our production. To everybody, we are most dependent. And while we are dependent, that human expectations, it also gives a lot of pathos to us. And that pain over a period of time keeps growing, that why this is not happening, why that is not happening. And we become this whole ball of complaints, okay, while we put our films together, especially the first film. And I just like other filmmakers, I was also going through this dilemma, this set of complaints, and why I wanted to do a few things, and I was not getting to make few things. And that's when I met Herzog, what he when he started sharing his experiences, he really, really makes you feel, anybody feels that how important and what is the real meaning of being independent. Because independent is not independently making a film, but it's actually about independently producing a film and making sure that it reaches out to people, which is almost like the final gratification for the filmmaker. So after meeting him, it was my first day of the workshop, and what he taught me was how to pick up a lock. And I was very confused, and I was like, I've put in so much of money, traveled all the way to Munich, and here is Werner Herzog trying to teach me how to pick up a lock. And by the end of the day, I realized that all he was trying to tell me that nothing is going to be easy, and all you need to do is you need to ethically lockpick what you want to do in your life. So, there will be times where you're not going to get the permissions that you want. You're not going to get the camera that you want to shoot. You're not going to get the best of technicians that you want to shoot. But at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do. Instead of complaining, you have to go out and not be passive and make the film that you really want to. And as soon as you made it, reach out to as many people. Like, I remember one line really resonates. He said, make a film. If nobody wants to make you a film, you make a film. Be the producer if nobody wants to be your producer, and be the festival if nobody wants to be your festival. Trust me, if no festivals had picked my film, I would have gone door to door and I would have showed my film. That's the kind of confidence, that's the kind of zest, enigma, and zeal that, somebody like Herzog, and when these words come out from his mouth in his theatrics, it really influences you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing that. That is so, so inspiring. And it's only 7:00 in the morning there right now. I don't know what the rest
is in India.
Like, okay. I was going to say, if he's like this at 7:00 in the morning.
But he is like this at 7:00 in the morning.
He's like at 1 p.m. conquering the world. So this is just so, so amazing. Tell me what you hope people take away from this film. I guess we'd start with Faraz and then throw it over to Nupur.
I feel that the film is multi-layered and there are so many B plots happening. There's so much happening in the film, and I was always told by Nupur and so many friends around that try to shave off a few things, few layers from the film, and keep it very simple and to the point, whatever you want to say. And ultimately that advice coming from Nupur and other friends, that did make sense to me, because when I sat on the edit, I realized that, okay, I've shot a lot, but I need to make, that one meaning, that one soul out of all of this. There has to be that one very similitude to everything that I've shot. And that needs to form up like one voice. And that one voice formed up to making that one big theme of the film. Like, I thought that, okay, let's have synopsis. After synopsis, let's condense it to log lines. And after that, I thought that how can I have log words to a film, like instead of log lines? And what if your film all about, can you say it in one word? And this kind of clarity came at the edit, where I kept editing and I was like, I'm editing the film around the log line, and I must move out from the log line, and I should actually focus on that log word. What is that one word, be it philosophical, be it emotional, but that is that word that people are going to carry, and what influence, what effect that would have on people. And that word was actually change. That if through the film, if I can make a film in very socio and temporal in nature, which can make people feel about the change which is happening around them, and register that one big theme of repair versus reject, then I think I've achieved it all. So I feel that while I dismiss the audience from the theater once they have done watching the film and they take a walk to the parking, what I really want them to carry in their mind is that as we move ahead, there is a cost to repairing the past, and how easily we give up. Back, I've seen my father, like if a mixer grinder breaks down or if an electronics breaks down, he'll still be like, be busy with that old car or that one machine. He'll still try to repair it. And I think it was just there. It was just there in that generation that you would put so much of efforts repairing the past, repairing our relationships also, everything. But right now, I think things have become very easy. If this is not working out, we are going to trash it and we are going to bring a new one. And that's how we are going to move on. But I feel that it's time to retrospect, and we just look back that, this habit of ours has started reflecting in how we treat people also. If things don't work out, we just give up. And I think there's no repairing that happens around us. So not just socially, but I think emotionally, if we understand the change which is happening around us, and if we understand how essential it is sometimes to repair things and not replace them, I think I've said it all. If people walk out thinking what I'm thinking of right now.
That's wonderful. And I love this idea of like a log word. I'm waiting for the Faraz masterclass to happen, online.
It's going to be at IFFLA.
Nupur, what about you?
Well, I do want to piggyback off that a little bit. And when you talk of change, the approach I want to talk about in one word is thoughtfulness. It's so easy in this world to just, like go, run after things. Like, our attention span is so less. We want instant gratification. You don't think about the consequences of your actions, whether they are to the environment, whether they are to preserving, any kind of cultural community, whether it is how it affects people, and that's what we're trying to get out, as Faraz was saying, with the message of this film, which is if we just pause and think about whether what we are doing with the world and how we're changing it and the kind of choices we are making which is based on money and which is based on, consumerism and which is based on just making our lives easier and easier and easier and more luxurious. But if we take a pause and we think about what we're giving up for that, we might think differently. And that's all we're trying to get out. And it's the same, like the most important thing he said was, think about how it affects people. There are buildings. Yes. I mean, if they go, we lose a part of history. But if we lose people, if we lose community, we've lost something that is truly worth repairing and saving.
Absolutely. And it's a little bit unfair, but perfect segue to ask you what you hope audiences take away from the film, because, okay, you guys, the big reveal, Newport is also a producer of the festival itself. So I'm just like really excited, just, briefly to hear about, really the inception of this and what you hope this year's festival brings.
Thank you. Shoebox was done. I mean, we shot Shoebox and then I moved back to LA, and this is like the first time I'm actually producing IFFLA, and we're so excited to be back in person. We're going to be back in theaters. Good God, like I miss that so much, and this is the 20th anniversary of the festival. So it's been 20 years. And
oh my gosh, that's amazing.
It's crazy, like, even like starting this as a community and then being able to maintain that closeness in the community and being able to show them fantastic films year after year for 20 years is a big achievement, I would say.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so this year we are really hoping to be able to just say bye-bye COVID in a safe way and bring people together to come back in theaters. And what Faraz was saying, the magic of dimming the lights and watching something together that's going to make you laugh and make you cry, and just, then walking out the theater, getting a drink at the bar and continuing to talk about the wonderful stories you just saw. So we're hoping to do that. And then we have so many special things, like we're doing our inaugural spotlight on South Asia, where we're not just bringing films from the Indian subcontinent or the Indian diaspora, but films from Bangladesh and Afghanistan and Pakistan, because these stories are equally powerful. And, it's important to give a platform to this amazing cinema that's happening. And then we're also doing a masterclass with Anurag Kashyap, one of the biggest independent filmmakers of India, and also somebody who's promoting, young and upcoming talent and things like that. So there's a lot to look forward to at this festival. And for me, it's just about being able to be back in that theater together and being able to watch 4 days of amazing films nonstop.
So wonderful. I'm sure that you are just absolutely pleased. And it's so cool to be, producer of the festival and of this film. I just, can't send you enough positive vibes. And thank you both so much for joining us. Okay, let's make sure that we get out right now every way that we can stay on top of everything. So for us, so that we know, more of what's coming up next from you, master classes, more about the Shoebox, is there a site? Are you more active on social? What's the best way?
What's the best way?
Yeah, to keep in contact.
Social? Are you on social?
I'm not nowhere. I'm socially very awkward. In fact, like I'm nowhere. I have an email.
And not even a website for us. You keep the world from all these gems of wisdom. What can we say?
The way to get to know Faraz is to make a film with him.
Yeah.
Okay. Or maybe to go through Nuash, we don't know. But Newport. So how about you then? What are the best ways to kind of keep up with what you're doing, the festival, everything so much?
I am also not that big I'm very old lady in that I don't post so much on social media, but I would say I am the most active on Instagram, which is Noopspics.
Okay, that's great.
Noopspics.
And then come on, you got to promo the festival site itself.
Oh,
right?
of course.
So.
I mean, hey. Go to www.indianfilmfestival.org, indianfilmfestival.org. There are so many ways to buy. You can buy tickets. We have passes, which get you into the opening night, closing night, and the parties and all the, exciting things behind the scenes. There's that, all the information is there. Look through the films, look through the trailers. There's so many things. And also our social media. It's all Indian Film Festival on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're posting a lot. We're coming up with breaking news. So yeah, that's the more exciting site than Noop's Picks. That has nothing.
So you guys, now you have, your pick to kind of pick up on Noop's Picks. You have your choice.
No, Indian Film Festival
of different routes. But you guys, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. I hope that the festival is amazing in so many ways for both of you. You guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this so much, to hear all about kind of really the mindset behind Shoebox, and Faraz's approach, I think, is really great just for like life in general. I don't know. I think that log word should be just like also for like maybe even one's own personal mantra, which I have, but it's a sentence. I like this idea of a word because you can get right to the energy, the essence of it, and just kind of, work down on that. I love that. So yeah, come on, the sneak peek or the inside of the festival with Nupur herself is just really, really a wonderful thing. So you guys, thank you so much for watching. Definitely follow all about the festival. We will be bringing you even more interviews all about, from filmmakers who have films in the festival. A few more coming up. So click on the next one. And I am, as always, Lauren Delisa Coleman for the Inside series. Thank you so much for watching for Filmio.